everybody who's here, the board and others. This is the May meeting of the Design Advisory Board. It's on. Thank you for the direction. So any which way, this is the May meeting of the Design Advisory Board, and we have a fairly short agenda, 2 items plus the minutes. And the way we're going to operate is if there's anybody here from the applicant, they will be allowed some time to give us a presentation. Any of the members of this board will be able to ask questions. Then we will review the checklist that has been provided to us by the applicants. And we will end that each hearing with a summary of recommendations. Following that, I'm a member of the Amherst Town Planning Board, and I will be tasked with bringing our recommendations back to our pre-meeting of the Planning Board, which is the middle of June sometime. I don't have the dates in front of me, but this is not a hearing. That's correct. If I use the word hearing, then I misspoke. Thank you for. Okay. Anything else? Is my tie on? Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. You did. You did. That's a story for another day. So, anyways, there are the procedures and rules that I just discussed. And if we have the agenda, we can start talking about the design review for site plan for a proposed 2-story commercial building. And now I'll silence my phone. Yes, please, that would help. Thank you.
All right, roll call. Duncan Black.
Here.
Marissa Colucci.
Here.
Tracy Konheiser-Rui.
Here.
Jonathan O'Rourke.
Here.
Pete Talty.
Right here. And I want to thank the planning staff, which the town of Amherst is blessed with an outstanding department. And I'm new to the role of chairman of this board, so I'm going to mess up a lot. It's not going to bother me, and hopefully it won't bother you, but they will be there to correct me, and they've got backup. So that said, if there's anybody here who wants to present Main Street and Fruhoff Terrace project, please come forward, identify yourself, give us your name and address, and a presentation, please. And please speak into the mic. Yes.
Oh, I see that. Site plan up. Hi. Oh, wow. My name is Dave Zuppelli. I'm with Benderson Development. I'm the site engineer for the project, and with me today is Joe Mariaccio. He is the project architect for this. So I'm going to just start that we are designing a single-story retail building that's 12,285 square feet. That also has an associated parking garage with 74 parking spaces. This is a 2-story or 2-level parking garage that has 45 spaces in the basement and 29 on the ground level. It's located between along Main Street between Chateau Terrace and Fernhoff Ave. Is owned the traditional infill 2.5, which is the new zoning regulations, why you guys are reviewing this. We've received several comments from you guys initially for the checklist, which included additional bike racks, charging stations for electric vehicles, which we have included, including with this. We also are including additional outdoor amenity space along the whole front along Main Street to provide pedestrian access and for the retail use of the building. More about the architecture. Joe can more elaborate. These renderings are actually older renderings. We have updated our renderings to a more appropriate look. I'll let our architect more or less discuss that.
The renderings you're talking about are the PDFs you gave us tonight?
Zip drive, yes, that was given to your attention. Yeah, go to the first ones for the other set of renderings first.
Page 1.
Page 1.
Right next to
There you go. Good evening. My name is Joe Marinaccio, architect for Benderson Development. And today we're going to be presenting the design for the single level building, but with the two-story look. I know some of the comments had, what's going on the two-story based on our checklist, but it is just a single-story floor plate, and what you see is a full second story. On the base, it will be all hardy board and AZAC trim, along with the glazing, and this will be painted as well. Above will be a whitewashed brick facade. We originally had a copper cornice. We switched that out back to an ethos cornice. And then we will have a standing seam mansard metal roof. Moving over to the secondary element here will be a GFRC, glass fiber reinforced concrete. Gives it the look of precast, along with decorative lanterns that will just shine against the building and just shine up onto the sidewalk itself. Carrying over to the main entry will be, again, the GFRC, representing the precast look. We do have a clear story above that'll be metal with glazing across the front. Along the top of the bottom of the windows on the second story look will be aluminum railings as well, and you can see that along here as well. And that'll be aluminum railings on the main element itself. Again, with lanterns, nice classical lanterns to light up the building and the sidewalk. And that is just a mirror image on the far right side as well. Can you scroll down, please? Thank you. Carrying over to Chateau, you'll have the same look repeating all along Chateau as well. Now, as you can see here, this will be access to the main level of the ramp. So this will be going up to the ramp, which meets up at finished floor in this area here. The ramp construction itself is a poured concrete with a form liner to mimic a stone. Nice larger stone pieces, and it will be painted. View from Fruhoff at the corner here. This is the upper parking ramp. Again, in the center here, because since all the parking's on the back, we carry that same element that's along the front on the back as well. Same concept with the railings, aluminum railings along the upper windows, the glazing, and the glazing will be black frames. The metal roof will be a gray, an ATAS slate gray, and then we carry that same theme throughout. The materials, although are limited in what we want to use here. We didn't want to incorporate too many materials, just enough to give that building that beautiful look that we're going for. Can you go to the next page, please? Page 2. Thank you. So here's another view. This is on the Chateau side, and again, here's the ramp coming up to the upper level. We will have plantings along the back. There's an amenity space in this corner here, which is right here. And again, that same look. Scroll down, please. And these are just close-up views of the additional doors, the main doors here. We have landscape across the front of the building, again with amenity space. We have opportunities for pots and planters throughout. to soften it. And then there's bike racks on the side here. We will eventually come up with the artwork. That's to be determined, and the location of that will be determined as well. I feel the best opportunity for that will be along the east side of the building for the artwork. But that, again, is yet to be determined, and that was part of your comments. I call this a dormer. It's a French, not sure the exact name for it, but this will be all standing seam metal roof as well up in here. And this will be a glass portal into it. This carries through all the way to the mansard. Provides for a nice cap of the building. In some cases, there was a brass screen that was going to be utilized. We are going to only utilize in the tenant on the lower level for their look. Currently, it was removed up the upper glazing. The upper glazing will be a spandrel glass. We're looking at two options, either spandrel, or we're going to just provide drywall painted 2 feet back from the main glass, so it gives it some depth to it as well. So that's we haven't addressed that yet in a total full design of that. Any questions?
Are you done with your part of the presentation? Okay. Well, I think I'll ask the board. Anybody have questions? Tracy, you can go first, please.
So the renderings look, the glass is very reflective. Is that the intent?
It's the software. It's not going to be that reflective. You will get reflection as you drive by or as you're looking into it, but it'll be mostly clear. The upper glazing will be a spandrel, but the spandrel color will be a darker color to give that illusion of it being occupied, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to see in, or you will see in, but just there'll be a slight glow to it.
Okay, but the reflectivity is not,
It's not going to be that intense. No, not
realistic.
at all. Not at
And
all.
then could you also clarify, you said it was 1 story, it's designed and looks like 2-story.
That's correct. So it's a single-story building, but with the 2-story look to it.
Okay, so it's a double height within
Double
the
height.
building.
Correct. The top of the roof is 35 feet. The top of the wood blocking is 29 feet. So that's how we are able to, to give it that illusion that looks like a 2-story, but in actuality, it's single-story.
I heard 1 story as well, and I just think that was because it seemed like it was
Right, in
corrected.
the notes, in the comments, it was stated as a 2-story, and it truly isn't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then just one other clarification, the number of parking spots. So it looks like a very small footprint, but you have a very large parking area. Is this a single tenant?
It could be a single tenant, it could be multi-tenant. At this time, we're not sure yet.
Okay, but the parking is anticipated just for the tenants of that.
Of that building,
Of
yes,
that
of that single-story building, yep. Single use, or single-story, per se.
Those are my initial comments.
Okay, Marissa, do you have questions? Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start with that this answers a lot of the questions that I had. And this has been a difficult project for everybody that's involved in it because of the length of time. And getting an understanding. I'm sorry, yeah. And getting an understanding of what's here. And one quick question, that what you said, on the right-hand side of this lower picture, you said that was the first floor tenant.
Right, this could be a potential first-floor tenant here, and there could be another tenant on this side. It all
Well,
depends how.
is there a second? You said it's only a 1-story building?
Single-story, correct. Single floor that's to be used for occupancy.
Well,
With
Does
divided
it-
walls that,
Oh, yeah.
demising walls. There could be demising walls, demising the space up,
So-
yes.
to divide it up, but so someone in here could have, in essence, a 2-story space if they had big retail, they could
In essence,
put
yes.
something up high.
We could do a small mezzanine, but obviously the mezzanine, we're gonna have to meet code for what we're able to size the mezzanine to. But in no case at this point are we proposing a mezzanine.
Are you going to build it clear space from the ground to the roof?
Yes, yeah, there won't be a second floor at all. You'll have your first floor, and then you'll have your roof, and that's it. The steel goes from the basement level, a little bit further, all the way up to the roof.
Okay.
But just first floor, that's it. That's it.
So the second floor is,
It's full. It's clear all the way up.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because, well, I'm glad you've changed the renderings to show the parking,
Mhm.
because they weren't in all of the material that we had, so
Right, I felt that was important to show the
our
show the
review
board.
of this is really thrown out the window, and we're looking at it for the first time as a board, in my opinion. A lot of the concept is there still, but, and I'm glad to see that the facing of the deck is shown as being,
And just to
something
clarify,
that you can
I
see.
apologize, just to clarify on the deck, there will be openings in the walls of the parking deck. We need to allow 40% of ventilation of openings, so
yeah,
there will be openings with screens, aluminum screens, as you can see along this side here and here as well. Those will be like aluminum railings in there to block
that-
anybody from accessing that.
that's fine. It's just now we can see the material and see that you're planning basically as a solid wall.
Right.
Or one
Right. And
same wall
and-
as it's going up.
And the wall itself is extended, I believe it's 42 inches above the parking deck here for two reasons. One being the first, so nobody falls over. Secondly, so that the automobile lights do not shine into residences as well. So we made sure that that was high enough to block lights, car lights, at any time of the day.
Okay, relative to the ramp, you've given the numbers of spaces that you're planning on doing, which is way over what's required by the town ordinance. And I'm wondering if potentially the upper deck, the little bump out that you have there, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 cars in that. If it could be eliminated so that the upper portion of that wall, in essence, would be further back from the residential area.
The upper portion of this wall here.
Yeah,
Well, my answer to that is, the tenants that we are trying to get here, they're gonna require the parking, depending on what, on their use. I mean, we have a pretty decent buffer. If you can go back to that site plan, which is 5202 colored plan, please. So as you can see here, fully treed, landscaped. Here's our property line here. You have, Dave, do you know how deep that buffer is? 32 feet deep buffer to that wall.
okay, and you still have the wood wall around the far perimeter?
The fence, the
The
6
the
foot
wood
board on board?
fence?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe we do, yes. 6 foot,
That's
6
still
foot
there. Okay.
along the whole property line.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. I'm wondering if you should consider having pedestrian access from the two side street, Fruhoff and Chateau Terrace, up to that parking level, which is where you'll enter the building. Right now, if someone in the neighborhood wants to come
Mhm.
to this building, they've got to walk,
Got to
all the
walk to
way
Main
around.
Street, yes, to get to the front door.
Come in the front.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, that, and I'm also concerned with you've got two exits from the lower parking deck that come up outside the building. They're open stairwells between the lowest level and the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And there's one at the side and there's one over here on Main Street too.
Yeah, the one on the side, I believe is right there, David, correct? It was, we eliminated that there.
Why don't you come up if you're going to speak into the mic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did have a war room entrance here that we removed. We have a garbage room entrance over here that they can enter and exit the lower deck right here.
And that's an access, and that's ramped, so easy access for any pedestrians.
Yeah.
If you're handicapped, you can easily get down that ramp.
And you've also removed the one on Main Street?
There was one, I believe we had.
It's, no, it's
there's an
right at
entry
the
here.
right hand of the
There's that
white.
entry there. Yeah, we kept that entry. And then this is the main entry
that-
here.
That's still an open entry.
This one here, yes,
Yeah.
into the space.
Okay. The other is that you show the elevator at
Which is
the
in the
very
middle.
back left corner.
It's in the center here, correct.
Well, again, the drawings that I was working from, it's in the back, in the left corner of the upper part there. Yeah, right back up in that.
Go to the parking garage plan, C4. Yep, that one.
Yep.
You can see the actual elevator.
There's the
shaft
elevator here,
room.
and that elevator within the
It's right
building
around
is
that,
located
yes.
right here.
Yeah,
there's
okay,
the elevator.
because that's not, well, it's an internal problem for you if you're using that for someone parking and they want to come up to go to the whatever's in the main floor there. It seemed like an awkward position functionally.
Actually,
That's your issue as as a landlord more
Right,
than mine.
actually, it's actually, in my opinion, a very good position because it's towards the back of the building and the majority of the parking on the lower level, you know, it surrounds it, so it's easy to access. It's kind of centralized
Yeah,
within the lower level, so it's easy access to it. Within the building, again, like I said, it's right here, which gives ample opportunity for whomever tenants we obtain to be flexible within their space. And that was the whole reason of positioning the elevator where it's at.
yeah, okay. Because I had anticipated that you've got sort of the main entrance in the front there that
Mhm.
will go, typically would have the corridor that would go through the building to the end, to the
Right.
other end, and getting the elevator, then there's a distance over, but that's
This-
your problem to take,
It's positioned slightly left of the main entry.
yeah, okay. That's, again, this is much better
Can't get in.
as a project than what we had and we're looking at our material that we had and studied and brought in. So, yeah, I'll congratulate you on at least doing that and look forward to seeing, I think you've done a lot of work to make it more compatible to the neighborhood and fit in and have been listening. So I congratulate you on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Peter, do you have any
Yes.
additional questions?
You're done? Okay,
When Pete's done.
I was trying to, where is it that you were saying that might be a good spot for the artwork? Was it along the ramp? I wasn't,
Right in this area here. It's at a nice corner. We felt this would be the nice area for the artwork when we come to that portion of the design phase.
is that where the bike racks are?
The bike rack is
Which is
right
my
along
second
here as well,
question.
yeah.
And what can you tell me about the amenities, the outdoor amenity space?
Well, currently, along amenity space here, there's landscaping along the front, and there's just we'll end up doing either pavers or a nice sidewalk enhancement to it itself. When regards to the amenity space itself, obviously we have a door positioned on the center here and a door left here. It all depends, and there'll be benches to sit. There'll be landscape pots that'll be movable. So this amenity space is more for seating than anything. We're not going to have anything grand there because there's not enough room to do anything. If we do have a tenant down the road in the future where they have an outdoor band or we do something there, which I highly doubt, that's something that could be looked at. But at this time, it's just seating,
Is the seating amenity space for the business or is it just for people? that
just in
use-
general. It could be for pedestrians walking by, it could be for the tenants, yes.
Okay, those are questions I had.
Good.
Miss, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sorry.
If I am a person who uses a wheelchair and I take a bus to access this site, what is my route to get into the building using the elevator?
Well, if you're taking a bus, you said taking. being
Right, if I'm a
dropped off with the bus.
pedestrian who uses a wheelchair or a mobility aid, what route do I take?
So with the bus itself, I'm not sure where the bus stop is here,
Let's
but I would
assume
assume.
I'm, yeah,
it
starting from the
gets-
sidewalk.
Yeah, they get dropped off along Main. This is right at floor level, floor level here meets the sidewalk, so they can enter right in directly. On the left here, there's a ramp, because the grade starts to dip down here. There's a ramp and a landing that, which is ADA compliant, that they can get into the space. The bus will always, in my opinion, drop them off on Main Street.
So you don't foresee that front door becoming like a back door that gets locked during the day?
No, not at all. Not at all. Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Yeah, go, Tracy.
Sorry, I have two more questions related to height that came up. So can you give us a little more context on Main Street of what the existing infrastructure is around this? So you're proposing a two-story look. I could see from one rendering across the street, it looks like there's two-story buildings, but what is the context on Main Street in terms of the height of your proposed building with what's existing?
I feel we're slightly higher, and the reason why for that is because of the mansard roof. We did a couple design crits where we took off the roof, we eliminated some, and it didn't look good at all. The surrounding, I feel it fits within the surrounding neighborhood itself along Main Street. There's varying heights throughout along that whole length of Main Street, and I think this is going to fit in quite well with it, because we do, although the materials itself, they're not overwhelming where they go all the way from finished floor to the roof line. We break that up and we scale things down to more of a pedestrian scale. And it's all about the materials and the colors.
Okay, so you feel the height is slightly above what's existing,
Exactly,
but
yes,
still fits with the character of Main Street?
yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. And then the back wall of the garage, what is the height of that wall?
It's approximately 14 feet.
14 feet from grade to top of wall?
Yeah, from that grade along the backs, it does dip down. It grades down to this, to the lower level here.
Okay, but there is landscaping proposed for that area?
Yes.
Again, into the mic, please.
I'm sorry. Yes, we have landscaping along the whole back near the retention pond right there.
And you will have a 6-foot board-on-board wood fence as well.
At what height is that?
6 foot, 6 feet.
6 foot, wait, I'm sorry, what location, not
Oh, I'm
height?
sorry, all along the property line I'm sorry, right here.
Back there, okay,
And then you'll have the landscaping along that as well.
on the inside of the fence.
The inside, yes, yes.
Okay.
So a neighbor's view would be about 6, 7 feet of whatever that stone, concrete, whatever of the garage is.
Approximately, yes,
So
approximately.
from the neighbor's side of this, it's just
Yeah, there'll be a small little
6-foot fence and then the top of the
of the wall.
of the
The wall,
garage.
yep.
So you're not doing any sort of like screening or anything there that's decorative? Can we see the garage, like the back of the garage view
Can you
again?
go back to page 2? Scroll down, this right here. This is your wall there. There'll probably, depend on our calculations, there'll be some openings in here, again, to mimic what we did here along Fruhoff and Chateau Terrace, and that is just for the ventilation. But you'll probably maybe see this much of the wall, and then there's a small little aluminum railing that sits atop of that, just decorative as well.
Okay, so is the aluminum railing, is that included in like the 14 feet or so?
No, that's additional.
Additional?
Yeah, the wall itself is approximately 14 feet.
And then where you're gonna have like punched openings
Mhm.
for the ventilation, or is that like a more decorative
It'll be decorative.
screen?
It'll be the
Or
same type of material we're using for the railing. It'll be that same black aluminum within the openings.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's not just gonna be an opening and call it a day. We'll dress it up so it looks nice.
okay. I do have a few questions now
Yes,
that. Can you explain, there's on the front of the building and then on the back of the building, you have like this sort of black pop-up that has like a ribbon of glass. Can you explain what that is
to
or like
that,
the intent?
Yes, so we needed some additional height on this center element. We could have raised the element itself. We felt it would have became disproportionate to the main building itself. So we accented it with this pop-up here, as you stated, which is metal, and then glazing. So it's not just a material where it's hard. It's a hard material up there. We wanted and then this will probably be backlit as well with a soft glow in it, lighting within it as well. Again, we wanted to try to stay to that pedestrian scale. If I were to raise this up, it becomes too dominant on the building. And I felt changing it with the materials just adds another layer and brings this proportion of this center element down.
Okay, and you said there's no like floor plate between the beginning,
Absolutely
so,
not. There'll be just ceiling here. There'll be a ceiling for whatever tenants we get at the center. Yeah.
okay,
So if you pop a ceiling, you'll be able to look up to the roof steel.
okay, I think my concern with that is that it's gonna look like you have an entire vacant second floor. So you said
No,
that
we
it's gonna
will-
get backlit
It'll
or?
be backlit, yes.
Okay.
We do not like our buildings to look dark. So what I am anticipating we end up doing is we'll put drywall 2 feet back of the glazing, the upper
Okay.
glazing, and then we'll put a soft light, a soft glow
Just
of
so
a
it
light.
looks
Just, yeah,
occupied.
nothing too bright so it overwhelms the everything else, but it'll be a soft glow. So it looks like it's occupied.
Okay. And then in our materials, you had like an aluminum railing along the top that it looks like you've eliminated. You had it at like the
We had
very,
it up on the
very
roof.
top
We
as
eliminated
well?
it.
Okay,
We felt there wasn't a need for that. It took away from the upper roof itself, so we eliminated it.
agreed.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Is that it for questions from the board? All right, well then let's move ahead to the site design guidelines. The review checklist. And I'm showing page 4 of 14. It's all right. Page 4 of 14 is what I'm showing from there.
John, if I could interrupt, it would be beneficial to us coming up with findings as you go through this, either acknowledge that you agree with
Your
the
findings.
applicant's description of how they're going to meet, or come up with a recommendation, and then we'll summarize the recommendations at the end.
I understand. Thank you for. So let's start with A1, pedestrian access and connectivity. And you're talking about at-grade sidewalk, direct to commercial space. We've gone over it and talking about access from Main Street side, which will be a main access, also will include a ramp.
Correct.
Correct.
Does anybody have any comments or any other additions to their recommendations? Everybody's happy with what we've been given. So then let's go to A2, which is outdoor amenity space. Landscape and pedestrian seating, which you've talked about, front, back,
is correct.
sides.
Feel satisfied?
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't appear to privatize the space. I mean, we've seen somewhere they do kind of,
Into the, yeah,
it does seem to satisfy the amenity space. It doesn't seem to be privatizing it. It seems to be out there in the front. We've had designs where they give you an amenity space, but it's buried in the back, or nobody but the
Okay.
tenant would use it. So I feel it meets that.
All right, thank you. Bicycle amenities is A3. And you've
We propose that on the east side of the
Proposed it.
building, east side of the,
one bike rack, and anybody have any issues or problems, any additional recommendations? And public art kind of remains out there, but,
to be determined, that's correct, and we plan on
determined.
placing that again near the bike rack area
so,
on the
and
east
you'll
side of
be
the
in
building.
front of the planning board for a public hearing in the not-too-distant future, and you'll know that that's something that we're looking for
Okay,
a little bit of additional information on.
yes, sir.
Understood.
Public art.
maybe if you could all move the microphones a little bit closer, it is hard to hear out there, please.
Don't want to knock out a tooth. Okay, site landscaping, we've discussed. Is there anything that anybody has any issues or additional questions on?
Nope.
And again, you'll dive into that once again at public hearing time. Sustainable features. I'm not a whole 100% sure what, due to this, the LID features, or
We, yeah, nothing currently on the
anything you want
building.
to expand on that, or?
No, there's nothing sustainable, just standard materials.
Okay. A7 is residential transitions. It's been discussed, and we've obviously taken it into account. Whether or not ultimately it will be the planning board's decision that, yes, that meets that. We'll see. Does anybody have any changes they want to see to the residential transition? All righty, moving right along.
Mr. Chair, can I ask for one clarification? So, and this comes into play with the transitions. The site plans that you received are different than the plan and the renderings that are presented tonight. So your comments, as you go through the checklist, are considering the new plans. So I would suggest that one of your recommendations is that the new plans be submitted formally to replace the old plans, and that's what staff will review and the planning board will see.
That's a wonderful clarification. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would apply as well to the facade.
Correct.
Does anybody have any? There's a lot of questions on the facade, and I think we got some clarification on that. Is there anything further anybody wants to recommend? Seeing none, let's talk about B2, which is entryways. Again, we've discussed them and where they are and the purpose they serve. And again, we'll tie that to the plan that we're reviewing tonight. Any other recommendations, anything further than what's been presented by the applicant?
I think just the note with the reflectivity of the glazing in the new elevations to reduce the reflectivity.
I do, as I look at it, the center tower, what you've added to the top, you're right, it does need something there. But I feel like the rhythm of the windows is off for the rest of the building, the scale of it. And I'm not quite sure how to fix that. Maybe simply subdividing them so it mimics the crossed windows.
We,
But I feel like the scale of it is,
we could put them in groups of 3s, and then we can put some muttons in them as well, so it breaks up. We can do that, definitely.
I mean, if you, like, I mean, yes, it did need the additional height. But I think the windows need to better, either the combination of the windows and the cornice, I think needs some tweaking, and I'm not sure what, but, you know, you have a design charrette, you have half a dozen people.
We could look at it, yeah.
I think like the rectilinear nature of that, like I look at, it's sort of disappointing that this is a 2-story volume and it's not actually like an occupiable like 2-story. Like I see that like ribbon of windows and I'm like, oh, that's like a cool rooftop bar kind of thing. Like it speaks to something's up there. So it's kind of a bummer, but
It's always a disappointment when it looks like 2 or 3 stories, and then you
Yes.
get there and it's like, oh, it's just
yes.
this.
I think that feels very, very modern though, like that little like chunk of
Right.
like the gray up there compared to the rest of the facade and compared to like even the building like across the street from this. So I would almost rather see that center block extend and it could just be like those little like port windows that you have or some sort of decorative element because it feels like 2 different like architectural styles in that center block.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I think the style you were picking up on was from the darkened areas on the left
Right.
and right. You wanted to bring that up top.
I think it needs that differentiation of materials, though. I definitely want to stay away from raising the element,
Yeah.
but we can definitely look at what we can do there.
Okay, anything else on entryways? Or windows? Actually, we jumped ahead to windows. That's what we've been discussing. Roof and architectural details, which, again, that's kind of what we've been.
I do have a question about like the reason for the metal like standing seam roof versus like an asphalt for the mansard roof.
Mhm.
Is that
It-
why?
The materiality, instead of a shingle,
Mhm.
I think in this case, I think the metal fits well with the actual design of the building, with the look of it. That's just the way we went. I think if we went with a shingled roof, even though it's minimal, it gives it a totally different look. I think the metal is, in my opinion, the way to go with this type of look of building. Yep.
Okay.
These are the old renderings though. Can we show the new ones?
Right,
while
yeah,
we're
these are the older. Page 1 and 2, if you go to the other, there you go. There you go. So bottom, yeah, there you go. Top left is Main Street,
The entire
top left
neighborhood
and
is
top right.
I think that's one recommendation of mine is shingles versus the metal. It's just a recommendation, take it or leave
I
it, but
disagree with you on it.
you're allowed to disagree. I just think like even the building across the street, like where Farmers and Artisans is, like that's all like the entire neighborhood
Mhm.
is, and this is butting up to a neighborhood. I think it would feel a little bit softer than having a metal roof. So that's
We'll look at it. We'll definitely look at it. Yep.
totally fine.
Because I
but-
can rerun it, run the renderings with that, and just take a look and see how it looks.
And then Pete, I think what your comment was in reference to those upper windows, the size of the upper windows, and maybe scale those down.
Either the size or the rhythm of them. They should be there, but they should be somewhat different. I'm not sure. Somebody had mentioned possibly adding circle windows, adding
You're
cross
talking
windows.
about this area
Yes,
here? Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
That's,
Well, definitely, it's on my, it's on my
break them
list to
into a
take, break it
three-part,
up.
Something,
Yep.
it needs something there. But I think they missed something.
Yeah, I think I am referring to the second story windows, the size of those
I did not,
over,
oh, you think those are too large, or what do you?
yes.
But if you, in
Yeah.
context with the aluminum railing that you see here, it brings the scale of those windows down because it somewhat obscures them a little bit. I think if you were to minimize these windows just to here, I just don't feel you get that same look that we're going for with these railings that are in front. At that point, there's no need for the railings. And if you reduce the windows height-wise from the top, it totally ruins the look of the building. I think, and again, we'll look at it to see what, minimize them a little bit. But I think the windows going to the top of this lower, of this upper panels here is the best way to handle it. We could look at slightly reducing them in the height, but I don't want to go too much because then it, in context with the rest of the building, the proportions start to get off.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the height that's bothering me, it's the width and the large pieces of glass. And it may have something to do with, they're very reflective in your rendering, so it draws your
Because they
eye
are broken
very
up into
quickly.
the six separate panes of glass, or the muttons are themselves. So that's what breaks up the glass itself. But yeah, we could definitely, you're probably right, it's the reflectivity. We can reduce that on the next batch of renderings.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on roofs? All right, we're going to B5, which is street level interest. Street level interest, which you've given us an explanation of your changes that from the last set of drawings that we had, renderings. Anybody have any issues on street level? Okay. Sustainable building features where applicable.
Where applicable, yeah.
So. Building materials, quite a variety. It's been discussed. Anybody have any issues, recommendations?
Do we still have EFS on the building, or is that gone?
There's only one area of EFS, and that's this upper cornice here. That's it.
Thank you.
Anything else in terms of recommendations?
The EFS is okay with the board?
Okay, open space. It's been noted that public sidewalks, public access have been addressed. It's not a whole lot of additional space here. Taking up, is it 90% of the site with the building? Yeah,
It's approximate. Did you get 'em? Well, I think everything.
okay,
90.8.
that's most of it. All right, sidewalk, again, same with the open space and the sidewalk are kind of one and the same in this instance. Anybody have any recommendations for any changes or additions to the sidewalk element? Okay, curb zone. Again, your amenities will be integrated within that, the curb zone, the public sidewalks.
Can I just ask a question? Are they all planters, or are there actually some plantings?
We actually have some plantings in front of the main windows on the side of the main entrance. So right there.
So right in front of this element here, this here. You could see it a little better in this image here. And the rest are movable pots. And then you have benches. You'll see 2 pedestrians sitting here.
Okay, thank you.
Already, I believe that completes our review checklist. So, Mr. Palumbo, I see you've been taking copious notes.
I have a couple of recommendations that generally to confirm. A3B and A3A, you'd like to see the bicycle amenities shown on the site plan. And that would be a recommendation to the planning board.
Showing that. It's shown on the site plan.
And the,
And it's shown on the current site plan, so that'll be addressed once we resubmit.
same thing with public art, which is A4. That should be, the location and the general nature and idea what it looks like should be shown on the site plan. And that would be the site plan that the planning board would ultimately could approve with conditions. A7, which is residential transition, would be satisfied as long as the new plans are received, formally submitted, reviewed by staff, and commented on for the planning board review. Planning board will be reviewing the site plan, and that is part of their site plan review.
In the context of what we discussed tonight, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
B2D, or B2 in general, entryways. Regarding transparency, and I believe this is windows as well as entryways. The transparency would have to meet the zoning, and that your recommendation would be that it not be so reflective.
Is that B3 for windows? I guess it would apply
It's in
somewhat to B2.
B2D, which is the
Yeah.
doors, and B3, the
And
windows.
B3. Okay.
But B3A, the size of the upper windows or the second-story windows be reduced.
And the clear story windows. Correct.
And third,
Clear stories.
but the backlighting is acceptable.
I mean, I think it's almost a must, so it doesn't look
Empty.
empty.
I'm sorry, well, can you repeat that again?
Just the backlighting, just confirming
Of
that
the
that's.
upper
yeah.
glazing, yeah.
Yeah, the comment was that it's necessary
Absolutely.
to avoid looking
And
like,
we always planned on doing that.
B4B, regarding the mansard roof and the dormers, you're recommending that shingles be used instead of the standing seam metal roof. And I believe that's all of the recommendations.
Pete, did you have a formal recommendation for the, like,
Accepted.
just different?
I don't have a formal recommendation, but I think I mean, looking at the whole building's been designed, and it makes sense, but that there, I think, needs a little more consideration. And I think that they have some ideas. I'm not going to specify what to do, but then, revise it, tweak it.
Can you make that into a recommendation? I don't understand.
Oh,
We're not going to make it a formal recommendation, but they know to look at that little, like,
Adjust
black
this.
pop-up at the top.
Of the main,
Yeah, the
the
clear
main
story.
center element. Yep, it's in my
I think
notes.
if
Yep.
you use the word consider
So, yeah.
appropriately.
Under roofs and architectural details.
Yes.
When I said clear story, that added it, I guess.
looking for that third set, that upper set of windows to be removed?
No, to be revised.
Right.
Revised
Evaluated.
in a, rhythm, possibly divided lights, possibly in shape. It's in the middle, it's at the top, and it's the most unremarkable part of the whole thing.
Guided lights and shape.
Do you have enough to work with, do you feel?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we get the review, it would go to the town architect who would review it, just like any other department would review something and make comments to the planning board.
Very good. Okay, everybody all set with these gentlemen? Okay, then, let's move right along. Thank you. Yeah, is somebody gonna motion? Motion what?
To make the
recommend to the-
recommendations.
You can recommend giving it to planning board with the conditions if you want to do that.
Yes, I'd like it to be recommended to the planning board, or, I forgot, verbiage. Pass to the planning board with our recommendations, is that,
With these conditions.
with these conditions?
I'll second that.
And there's a second?
On the question, I'm going to assume that this board's decision is, and recommendation is going to be based upon the plans presented this evening, the testimony that's been heard and discussions had, and the recommendations that you are making should all be incorporated into this motion, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're okay with seconding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Marissa, so on to roll call. Duncan Black,
Yes.
Marissa Colucci,
Yes.
Tracy Conhiser-Rui,
Yes.
Jonathan O'Rourke,
Yes.
Pete Talty.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you want to turn them in, we can add them to the file and this one's more of a question for you if they're going to go to the planning board. But if you want to fill them out, you're welcome to do so and then turn them into the planning department. They're there in order to, if you want to present information, you can. It's to help with public engagement. Yeah. So if you want to put them on that front table where you got them, if there's something you want to say, feel free to express yourself and put it there.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is going to supersede what we have?
We're good.
Do you have another one I can look at?
Oh, sure.
You're out? Don't worry. Thank you.
So following the path that we just took, we will ask for a presentation on your proposal. Then the board will have an opportunity to ask questions. We'll go through the checklist, and then we will end with a summary of recommendations. I would note that this is a preliminary effort in front of this board, as in most instances, when we consider something, site plan review has been filed with the planning department. That's not the case here. You've not done your site plan application yet, so this is as preliminary as it gets. Don't need a microphone for that. Yeah, there you go. That's the microphone. So, please.
Thank you, everyone, for inviting us in for this preliminary design review. We have provided a preliminary site plan concept, and we also will be discussing the architectural, the building. There's been some renderings. You've received smaller copies of the most updated sheets. So if we could move on through, we're discussing 4357 and 4367 Harlem Road, which are two parcels being combined. They are owned and occupied by a single tenant and owner-tenant, south of Main Street on the east side of Harlem. There we go. So that's the project site showing the two separate parcels. Those two parcels will be combined in our plan. We can move on to the next slide. Okay, here is both a black and white and a color rendering of the most recent edition of the preliminary site plan. You will notice things that have changed from the initial hard copy that you received. We've responded to the comments that were made by the planning department staff on a number of items. If we start, we could sort of start at the top of the page there at the concept plan submitted May 27th, 2025. You'll see we show the landscaping we show is just obviously not detailed. It is not laid out in a legend at this point, but our intent is to completely follow all buffering requirements. There's foundation plantings around the entire building and the addition, which is the part to the east that you see. Oh, yes, it should be. All right. So here we have foundation plantings. This is the original building as it exists now, and this is the addition that we're proposing. What you see here, we kind of go down this way. We have a back patio with a sidewalk leading out all the way connecting to the public sidewalk. The main entrance to the building is here, currently, as proposed. We have here what we've labeled outdoor amenity space. Pursuant to the code, since it is a single tenant, this is primarily for, if not exclusively for, the tenant and their employees. A couple of park benches, shaded area, just an area to relax, get out, take lunch as necessary. Moving right here, we have our bicycle amenities, couple of bicycle racks. We have our ADA accessible parking spot as required. Then we have here two EV ready spaces, which are required by the TI 2.5 for the parking lot. This has become all parking here. This is a proposed new entrance to Harlem Road curb cut to get it away from the further away from the intersection. And we feel that it provides a better pathway and parking for the project. You will notice here, we have kind of what we've determined as a public art space, which at this point, we've just shown a public bench for seating. There will be landscaping, extensive landscaping. This gray line that you see going up here, follow the bouncing laser pointer, is a landscape wall, okay? Proposed to both kind of blockade, provide more of a buffer to the parking area, and then also some visual interest for pedestrians as they go by. It's intended that this will be a stone, structural stone, parking, wall, garden wall, so to speak. And it will match, there's an existing wall here, partial. It will match. Those two actually will be removing what's here and matching it to the new proposed wall here. So again, we have the public sidewalk connected to our sidewalk here, so easy access from the street. Let's see, then we come down here, the parking, and then you'll notice this is our only residential adjacent property parcel. So we have proposed a 6-foot-high wooden opaque fence, board on board actually, and will follow all the required buffering required per code. Here, this is all commercial. This is actually all parking lot, existing parking lot. That will be buffered by both landscaping and a fence as necessary, just to provide that barrier, a 6-foot-high fence, wooden fence, provide the barrier to the outdoor amenity space and a parking lot. So that's our proposal there. I think that's pretty much it as far as the site plan is concerned. Again, you have a smaller copy of that, and we have a hard copy here on the easel. And we can go through questions regarding the site plan, or we can go and present the architectural end of things and cover it all at once.
Why don't you complete if you've got other elements that you want to present.
Yes, I'll introduce Mr. Mike Berger, the architect on the project.
Thank you. Good evening, board. My name is Mike Berger with Sutton Architecture, 5409 Main Street in Williamsville, representing for the architectural side of this project. We are proposing a 2-story addition to an existing 2-story building. The footprint would be 44 feet by 32 feet, and it would be for the expansion of the single tenant for additional office and conference room spaces. Architecturally, aesthetics, we would be trying to, there we go, mimic. So this is the, oh, lost my thing. Oh no. There we go. Existing building here, gray horizontal siding, windows with divided light, shutters, a decorative cornice line, a mansard roof, some dormers. What we are proposing is an addition that would accompany and fill the back end of the property and mimic the aesthetic look, the architectural look, with windows that match the existing, detailing of the cornice that matches the existing. But we are proposing a flat roof as opposed to the mansard roof. This is a 2-story space. This actually has attic component to it as well. And in between, we would be introducing a little connector element that would have a door, so for entry off the parking lot. And the material of this, we are thinking wants to be different, so it's not just all siding all the way through. What we are proposing is a smooth finish drive-it with a water table of brick or stone down by the door, just to break up that material usage. And I think with that, I would open up for any questions. So these are just the two-dimensional drawings here, very similar in nature to what we looked at in the rendering. Just calling out the material, aluminum frame windows, We do, in this drawing here, we are talking about spandrel glass, but the drawings that were submitted tonight, hard copies, we are introducing that as drive-it with a smooth finish. Aluminum windows with transoms, new windows here with 5-pond headers, AZEK trim around the windows, again, mimicking what is already there in the existing elevation. This is the elevation of the rear of the building that would be adjacent to that patio that Jason mentioned, carrying through windows that are very similar in nature to the rest of the building. And the next elevation is the other side, which is very similar. So 3 sides, very similar. Again, the building itself, the existing building, has a very continuous look all the way around, and we are looking to maintain that.
Okay, then. Questions for the board? Oh, certainly, Mr. Zubin.
Hear me? If you can put the site.
Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Howard Zubin, Zubin Homes, 5110 Main Street. Anyway, I'm the proposed builder, hopefully, and we'll be doing the project. But if we can get the site plan, number 17, that slide up. I don't know if anyone's familiar or everyone's familiar. I'm familiar with this because in 2014, I was hired to renovate this building. I don't know if everyone remembers it. It was Schmidt's Auto Body it was their headquarters, and it was, we more or less gutted the whole property out. New windows, new siding, everything, new electric, new water, new mechanicals, new heating systems, everything. So we did that work, and if you could, actually in number 17, if I can get up. Yep, perfect. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, so right now the driveway to get in this property is over here. It's right next to the Sunoco station on the corner. So my client owns this area, and this is going down. Is that die? All right, anyway, so that tree line on the north side, we'll call it, that's the current driveway. The area where the, we'll call it the sidewalk kind of is now, the new sidewalk, I'm sorry, is the driveway that the other building had that we demolished last year sometime. So we want to get, I don't know if anyone's ever been in that area, especially around the Key Bank. We want to try to get the driveway and that entrance further south. We're hoping with God's grace, we'll be able to have that happen where, because every time you go up or try to get in or out of that, you're either being waved on by traffic because there's always the people are stopped at the light. So by drawing it closer or more south, we'll say the south end of the property, we feel it's a much better egress situation. We also, I don't know if you're familiar with it, the driveways on both those areas currently have probably about a 30% incline, 30 grade incline on them. So a lot of cars are bottoming out and things like that, getting up on that area. If you have a low car, you're not going to get up in that driveway. So going down further on Harlem, the actual the egress area would be a lot less steep of an area to come into. So I just want to kind of say what we have now and what we're trying to change it over to. And that's the reason we tried to put the building where it is. So we're going to actually close up that bad driveway, we'll say between the Sunoco station and the current building, and then bring everything around more south of Harlem Road. So I'll let these guys take over again. If you have any questions on the building, you can call.
You're all here. Thank you. Okay. Board. Tracy, do you want to?
I do need to refrain from comment on this one due to professional conflict.
That's correct.
So.
Thank you. Marissa?
Are you saying you're going to be recusing on it? Then you step out of the room as well. You shouldn't even be involved.
I don't have any questions or comments.
Okay.
Sorry, don't mean to be disrespectful.
Duncan?
Okay, yeah, I have a few questions. Some of the things you cleared up for me tonight, because one of them is I was worried that I thought that the clients would still have to go in the front door because of the information that I received, and that the door where the connector is was to be for employees. And I thought that was awkward because everybody parking there is going to walk right down. But if I understand the drawings that we have tonight, that will be the public entrance, is the connector. Is that correct? Yes.
That also, that will not only be one of the main entrances of the building, which we hope that most people will go through there, because now when you open that front door and that wind hits, it sends people across the front of the building. But anyway, that's also the handicap entrance. So the grade at front is a lot steeper of the building, so it's going to be a lot easier for people with wheelchair access and
No,
such to
I
get in.
think that's a good change.
Thank you.
So it's there. Now, speaking of that connector, I do have some thoughts for your, if you'd consider. I'd like to see a little bit more separation of the two facilities. And to do that, the simplest way I can see is to take and make that really a clear curtain wall from grade up to the top. Inside, the main floor, everybody's walking across, but upstairs, it's like a bridge going across. So it would make a nice little thing to be able to look through and sort of see this bridge and people floating across up high, but it separates the buildings because you can see right through, and gives more, in my opinion, more visual context to the connection. And I just think you're taking the idea of the bench that the town architect had suggested. I think that, and some of the other things you suggested that you've implemented in here are very good changes. So I'd like to compliment you on listening to what was being said and taking care of it if and where you could. So really, those are my comments at this point.
I want to second what you said about the transparency of that middle section. I was excited to see that. I like when you have something old and then you separate it with something new, and then that makes a nice connection, especially if you can see into it, it's even better. And then to see that there was a bridge crossing it on the inside, like, yes, but then you put drive it across there. I'm like, no. So that was, I can't tell you to do it, but I think that would be much more of a spectacle, having that be transparent there. When you mentioned about the amenity space, hearing that it was private was disappointing, but on the other side of the property, you do have a public bench. And I wouldn't even mind seeing that either elaborated into not just being a straight bench facing the street, but perhaps a curve, so you're facing each other, or two benches facing each other, whether it's at an angle or directly facing each other. I'd actually like to see that even be a little more prominent there. It's a nice little seated spot between the trees. Nice spot. I don't have a lot to say beyond that. It's a nice design. But those are some suggestions to make some improvements that I say. Oh, and on the addition, even though there isn't a clear base on the existing building, rather than having the siding come right down to concrete, having some kind of base across the bottom, I think would feel a little better, even though the existing isn't.
And that's the struggle we were looking at in design, is trying to be respectful to the existing building, and introducing something that's going to be that starkly different from that building. We can explore that idea though.
What was the material for the addition? Not the connection, but the, what is the material?
It's a horizontal composite siding.
Okay, okay. I feel like since you're changing the material, you're echoing the rhythms of what's going on. Having a base there, I don't think it would violate anything by doing that.
Okay.
That's my suggestion on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? You? Nope. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. We're going to run through the design guidelines. The review checklist. We will start with pedestrian access and connectivity, which has been discussed in the last few minutes. Is there anything else, any additional questions or concerns? And then outdoor amenity space, there is a recommendation for additional consideration?
Yes, making it a little larger.
Right, right. Could you repeat that, Pete?
Oh, I'd like to see the outdoor amenity space, and I'm speaking to the bench on Harlem, rather than being a single bench, either a larger bench that had a curve to it or a pair of benches that were facing each other.
U-shape
Making it more of a-
perhaps?
Yes.
or-
And then you could pull that line of bushes in and back it into the trees a little further, to make that more of a nice spot.
Okay,
It already is, but it could be better.
right. And we've seen the bicycle amenities. Does anybody need anything further clarification and or additions? Okay. Public art. Nothing really planned, a single tenant building. Not necessarily a lot of public space other than the bench.
It could be something three-dimensional statue or something, in either of the amenity areas.
Okay, then. Site landscaping, we've talked about that at great length. It's going to taking the residential neighbor into account. Gotten rid of some blacktop with green space. And you'll work with the town architect ultimately, the landscape architect.
Yes.
Okay. Sustainable features. Any additional comments or concerns? Okay. The residential transition we just mentioned. And then building design considerations, facade, again, an attempt to match, not building for building, but the look. Entryways, you've got a recommendation that it contains the entranceway, but to take a look at and consider however you described it.
More transparency.
More transparency. The floating bridge
Yeah,
drifting across, got it.
show it off.
Mm-hmm. Windows, again, you're mimicking what's in place there with obviously a better product today than what went in there originally, but
Are the window heads going to be at the same height, or are we dropping the head in the addition?
They would line up with the existing windows, yes.
Okay. And I'm guessing also the divided lights would also be 9/9, not,
Yes.
okay.
street level interest, which is not really a street level view of the addition, the screening and so forth, so.
Yeah, the addition itself is fairly tucked behind the building. There isn't really much that you would see from the street.
You discussed building materials. Open space. Comments? The sidewalk, which will address the grade issues. Curb zone is landscaping for the most part, the main effect there. So, those are the items, not a whole lot of controversy this early.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think just as a quick question, I guess it's because they've changed the written entryways, B2, because it says the existing front entrance to remain, and then the added side entrance will be intended for employee use. But now they're really bringing everybody, the main entrance will be in the, well, I'll call a side entry at this point. I don't know if we need to clarify that.
Well, it's a good catch. And certainly the language should be.
Could change the language. The door will still be there. The front door will still be
Oh,
there, but
yeah, that
Yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah.
you've taken away my concern that I had with the front door remaining as the major public entrance. So that's
We can change that.
positive.
We can
for
change
you.
that.
Yes. All right, just don't open it in the wintertime, the front door.
Did anyone on the board have any comments on B4 roof and architectural details?
I heard none. Thank you. All right, well, we've gone through the checklist and the summary of recommendations. You'll note the change that the connection between the buildings will become the main entrance
With more transparency?
with, yes.
And I would note that your recommendations for preliminary are to the applicants as they prepare their formal application and submittal. And because this is a minor site plan, when you review that, it will be recommendations to the planning department as they review the minor site plan. This one is not going to the planning board because
This
of the
will not be
size.
the subject of a public hearing.
Correct.
Correct.
Planning board. Minor modification.
But another meeting of the DAB.
Very good. Well,
And my understanding is these are not public hearings anyway.
that's correct. And if I use the word hearing again, it's just my planning board background.
I understand,
that I
just for the
can't-
record.
Can't get away from. Well, just for the record. Very good. So. All right, does anybody else have anything to add?
I do have one other question. I'm looking at the image here. Actually, it's the same image there. I'm looking at that image there. I see a dormer on the back of the building that wasn't drawn on the elevation. Is that dormer?
That's the door on the side that faces the parking lot.
No, the dormer. There's a dormer shown on this side.
Which drawing is it?
I see it.
What approach this, right?
Is this one? there?
Yep.
So where? This is,
Possible pointing.
this one works. Where do you want me to point it?
Is that door there? 'Cause it's not drawn on the elevation.
Door here?
Dormer.
Oh,
dormer.
dormer. I thought you said door.
Dormer.
Well, why is there a door on the roof? I don't know. Yeah, those dormers would stay.
Okay, no, it's not, that dormer doesn't appear on the elevation.
Oh, I see.
And it would be an ideal spot to put a door out to the patio on the roof. And I didn't know if that had been something that had been considered or not.
We had not considered a roof patio, no.
I like roof patios. That thing somewhere. That's the only question I had.
Shown here, but not here. So, okay.
There would be one recommendation that the connecting structure have more transparency and be treated as visually as a main entrance. And yes, and also the public amenity space, the public amenity space at the sidewalk,
I could talk.
at the street sidewalk,
Yes.
have either two benches that are more functional as a seating area, or one larger bench that's curved.
Just one more thing, Gary, before we end this discussion. So we're talking the main entrance and the front entrance. I know that's come up quite a few times. What I'm saying is that the main entrance to me is, this is a attorney firm, so they don't have a lot of public coming in and out of the building. For the handicapped people, per se, that they will have to use that side entrance. Now they don't have that luxury. There is a ramp on the back of the building that we put in, a handicap ramp. But the front entrance is still going to be used at times for people, coming through the front entrance, only because the reception area is in there presently, and the conference room where they'll be meeting to do their discussions and such are in that front quadrant of the building. So if we use the side entrance for all the public coming through, they'll be walking through a lunch room and the washrooms and things like that in the back of the building right now. So just want to make that clear that the public, per se, will still be able to go through both front and side. The employees who will really be occupying this building all the time will be going through that side entrance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe we're done with that item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation and clarifications and so forth. Can we send out a posse looking for Tracy? Careful.
A quick question. The first person who presented for the Zubin project, your name is Jason, is that correct? I don't think you gave your names. I want to confirm. Perfect. Thank you.
Ooh, we let him talk without introducing himself. Yeah, next time.
Cognito, huh? Left to it.
We just need a motion.
We need a motion for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I saw one update on the meeting minutes, though. Hold on. Just the very first line of the meeting minutes. It was called to order by Chairman Giuliani.
So what you should do is make the motion, have a second, and then on the question, that's when you would make any amendments.
I didn't notice that.
Okay,
That's it.
I read them. I read the minutes.
I did too, but I missed it. Looking for my name down.
So you need a second, I think.
We
I'll
need a second.
second it.
Okay, Duncan seconds. On the question, is there any comments you want to?
Yes, to update the first line of the minutes to reflect Chair O'Rourke.
O'Rourke.
Or O'Rourke,
O'Rourke.
yes. Sorry,
That's okay.
it's a hard name to
No
say.
problem. So, are you okay with the?
Yes.
amendment? Okay.
All right, roll call. Duncan Black,
Aye.
Marissa Calucci,
Yes.
Tracy Khan-Heiserui,
Yes.
Jonathan O'Rourke,
Approve.
Preet Talty.
Yes. Approved.
Now we can make a motion to go home.
So moved.
And
second it.
And Peter seconds that?
Yes.
All in favor? Or do we need a, everybody just go, yeah.
We're good?
Who's gonna argue?